Yeah,
Here it is
Yuki,
again.
well-known Ranger aficionado, someone after my own Ranger heart. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting match. Love to see Ranger, especially Lexi, here at the Pro Tour. Looking at the equipment loadout, it looks pretty standard. I mean, this is something that I would run too. You know, you got your New Horizon, you got your Tunic, Bullseye, and your Snapdragons. Looks like Yuki's running the Voltaire, which is an amazing bow. Give your arrows go again. You can use it twice as an instant. Just really, really solid stuff. And then here on Dash, we see a very similar, if not exactly the same loadout as the previous Dash that we just saw here.
Yeah, I mean, look, we saw the Dash win the previous game. Here is Gary Lynch on Dash, also at 1-0. So Dash is has a lot of W's under their belts right out of the gate. But Yuki is not at all. In no way is Yuki scared of this. Yuki on Lexi is almost a sure thing in many cases. This time, pitching the red, activating Voltaire. I believe that's an endless arrow.
Yep, endless arrow into the arsenal face up. That will give her an extra arsenal slot because of the New Horizon. And this is kind of like, I would call this a very, very typical turn one play for Lexi, right? You don't give your opponent that mulligan, by attacking. You're just like, hey, I'm really comfortable setting up, right? I got my double arsenal here. I got my 4-card hand, so I can, possibly go in with a much bigger pool of resources during my next turn to apply a lot of pressure.
There you go, another Teklo Pounder. That's a Teklo Pounder with cheese, man. Like that is, you got double up on that one, baby. Yeah, heck yeah. You got the 2-for-1 going on over there. Teklo Pounder again. This is an indicator. A lot of the times, you're playing against Lexi. Is it an aggro Lexi? Is it more of a control ice version Lexi? When you see Teklo Pounder, you know that you are going to get just jammed with attacks over and over.
Just the name, Teklo Pounder. So it looks like Yuki's going to use Lexi's hero ability to reveal a Channel Lake Frigid, which will give Gary a Frostbite token.
Yeah, those Frostbites, again, these are the ones that really kind of create that disruption effect, really jam up your hand. It gums it up in the sense that, when you see that, you know you're going to get frostbitten against Lexi. A lot of different heroes, for instance, when you're playing Starvo, you know that the Frostbites are going to come off of the Ice Hammer, but they have to hit. With Lexi, that's not the case. You reveal the card, and you already get the benefit.
Yeah, and here we have an Art of War coming from Yuki. Very interesting for Art of War. I'm not sure what mode she's going to go with. Very likely draw 2 if I had to guess, and then either... very likely go again, I would say.
So drawing 2 cards over there as well, filling up the hand. And when it comes to card draw for Lexi, you usually rely on things like 3 of a kind, right?
Yep.
And
3 of a kind.
Art of War, a nice addition as well. Just being able to not just cycle through the hand, but just create, especially when Voltaire can load multiple times, you're going to see these go wide effects that, in conjunction with the ice, you can really create 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 Frostbites to... you might not be buying too many cards out of your opponent's hand, but you're just freezing him out potentially of even coming back at you.
Yeah, 100%. Ooh, and here we do have the, I think she just gestured that it does have Go Again, so this is Endless Arrow with Go Again.
With an Ice Quake on top of it as well, and that's going to be nasty. So whenever an attack hits this here, you're going to get another Frostbite, and that's a big attack. 7 with Endless Arrow, and Endless Arrow upon hit will go back into your hand.
Oh yeah, it's... as a Ranger player, it's very nice. It's very nice to have it come back in your hand.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, and still has the Channel Lake Frigid just available, just sitting there in Arsenal, presenting a lot of damage and also like controlling and taxing effects just right off the bat.
And Channel Lake Frigid against a deck like Dash, where you're going to be boosting, you're going to be getting Go Again, it's going to become exceptionally expensive and taxing for you to continue those wide turns. Those 2 or 3 attacks in a row might, just Channel Lake Frigid on the board could potentially be worth about, 3 or 4 life by the virtue of it not allowing your opponent to present an extra attack.
Yeah.
So it's such an important card. I've had conversations with so many people. I said, what's the most powerful card? And many people say, it's Channel Lake Frigid. Channel Lake Frigid is probably one of the most powerful cards out of Tales of Aria.
It is absolutely brutal. Like, if you've ever played against a Channel Lake Frigid, especially if you're playing an aggro deck, a go-wide deck, it is back-breaking. Any card that costs 0 now costs 1, and that in Flesh and Blood is such a big deal. Like, it just rips multiple cards out of your hand. It's just so innocuous, right?
Yeah, so here comes, we're going to present a little bit of defense here, but as you can see, another Frostbite has been generated, that Endless Arrow put back into hand, so that card did its work between Art of War, the Red Ice Quake as well, and the Endless Arrow. We're going to get another activation of Voltaire and load up another arrow as well. Yuki not done here.
Yep, this is our first Voltaire activation for the turn. She loaded up the Endless Arrow on the previous turn.
These matchups here, when you're playing against an Ice Hero, it feels like, you know, as those Frostbites accumulate, Gary could be thinking, I'm going to hold my hand because I want to continue, or I want to be able to regain momentum by attacking back. But every attack that Gary lets through here, Yuki will be able to just perhaps create more Frostbites and stop this, stop the turn altogether.
Yeah, and here we have the same Endless Arrow. This Endless Arrow does have Go Again from the Voltaire. And looks like Gary's going to match that with the kitchen sink. He's just going to toss in a bunch of equipment.
There you go. Throw it at him. There it is. Yeah, like you mentioned, it's the same deviled eggs right there. The same Endless Arrow.
And we have another Endless Arrow.
All
Endless Arrow.
Deviled eggs. Yeah, there's
exactly.
5 attack on this one.
I appreciate the reference, by the way.
I'm glad you got it. That is a Futurama reference.
The same Endless Arrow. So yeah, this one is a 5. It gets a +1 from Voltaire here.
And this is what we're talking about, because those are cards that Gary could have used to clap back here, but with the amount of Frostbites that have accumulated, those turns became moot because you cannot pay for those turns. So this is the sheer, you know, disruption of just a couple of Frostbites. And even though the health totals are very similar, it's only, you know, Yuki's had these phenomenal turns, but only has gone through, she's only really penetrated for 4 damage. But the beauty of this is that it's basically bought the turn back for her to go.
It is like an absolutely massive tempo swing. Like, not only did you push damage like you said, but you ripped so many cards out of their hand, and it's just going to be brutal. Like, brutal for Dash to come back and have like a turn that threatens Lexi at all. And you have to kind of threaten, you know, the Ranger. If they can just keep their entire hand, it's going to be very, very difficult to climb back, especially with a Channel Lake Frigid just sitting out in the open in the arsenal.
Meanwhile, you've got a 2-pack of these, you know, double stack Teklo pounders with cheese that are just sitting there.
Waiting, biding their time.
Exactly. It's like the Uber Eats dropped it on your doorstep. You haven't picked it up yet. It's like, it's going to get stale there, Gary. You got to use them, buddy.
Oh, we have a pitching a 3-of-a-kind into a 3-of-a-kind. So one of my favorite cards in the entire game. 3-of-a-kind lets you draw, you guessed it, 3 cards, but it does have a pretty big downside in that you can only play cards from your arsenal during the turn that you play 3-of-a-kind. So you get to draw some cards, but it has a little bit of a downside. Fortunately, Yuki's running a Voltaire, which lets her arsenal twice.
Yeah, and if necessary, there's also the Bullseye Bracers, right?
That's true.
That is
100%.
Another option to go ahead and load up if necessary. What I like here is that Yuki's being very patient with that Channel Lake Frigid. That's a card that I believe, when push comes to shove, if there's a very maybe not necessarily as explosive a turn, you jam that in, and that'll you know, bide you a little bit more time.
I think she's super happy just waiting with that channel. She's like, I'm going to push this damage. I'm going to save this channel until I can really get you with it. And she is following up this 3-of-a-kind with a Bolton Shot. That Bolton Shot's going to get +1 from the Voltaire, and then because of Bolton Shot's ability, it's going to get Go Again, and it'll have an on-hit reload trigger, which once again is super, super nice on the 3-of-a-kind turn. If you can get that reload trigger, that's just an extra thing that you can get in your arsenal.
She's going to be using the Tunic value here, getting another resource, activating Voltaire a second time.
Oh, this is a very interesting one. This is one that I don't typically play in a lot of my Ranger decks, but I know it is one that a lot of folks really like. It's an easy 0-for-4. This is a Helix Shot. It's getting a +1, or a Pathing Helix. It's getting a +1 from that Voltaire.
Love it. It's a great card again. It's just, but a 0-for-4. I mean, we've heard this story long before. The value of being able to just go ahead and play a card with that breakpoint of 4 for not necessary for free, essentially, and with the bonus of, you know, giving it +1, let's say with Voltaire, feels good. And Yuki really in command here. Again, the life totals are not the story here. The story is the fact that Gary hasn't necessarily been able to do a whole lot, and Yuki's been in the driver's seat this entire time.
Yeah, and she was able to arsenal up another card at the end of her turn. She double arsenal, draw up to 4. It's just, you know, setting yourself up for the best possible chance at a really explosive turn.
Yeah, Gary just showing all of the toys here. You know, Teklo Core, a couple Teklo Pounders as well. Meanwhile, Yuki's like, yeah, that's cool. I'm just going to keep frostbiting you, and when push comes to shove, there you go. Pitching the Channel Lake Frigid to play the Channel Lake Frigid. So that's twice. We did the pitch the 3 of a kind to play the 3 of a kind, pitch the Channel Lake Frigid to play the Channel Lake Frigid. Just making it easy for us. I love it.
Yeah. So this Channel Lake Frigid will apply a taxing effect on, here we have another 3 of a kind. That is 3 of a kinds in the span of, what, 2 turns?
2 turns.
Honestly, that's not exactly what you want to see. You don't want to have to pitch your 3 of a kind like she did in the previous turn, but these are your really, really explosive turns. And, this is where you can solidify that tempo advantage that you already have. We do have Gary here kind of amassing a little army of trinkets and baubles, so he's setting himself up for a turn where he can, possibly do something when he's able to. But Yuki's really, really applying the pressure here.
Chilling Ice Vein with the fusion as well, coming in for 4 on hit. It's you gotta pay or discard. It's a tough decision to make in certain cases.
It's gonna get rid of something no matter what if it hits, or you have to block. So either way, this card's gonna take something from your hand.
Definitely.
And that's exactly what it's there for. It's just like, hey, you can't just ignore this.
Second wheel of the Arcanite Skull Cap, again, the benefit of being at a lower health total means that you're going to get another additional point of blocking here. So that's a full block on the Chilling Ice Vein, which is great. That's what you want to see.
The same Chilling Ice Vein?
The same deviled eggs, yeah. In this case, though, it's fascinating to mention when you're playing against Lexi, much like when you're playing against other particular heroes, there are certain cards that you want to keep in your mind and be like, all right, how many of these have I seen? Against Starvo, it's things like Oakenolds. Against, let's say, Chain, it's like Artivores. How many Artivores have I seen? For Lexi, it's got to be 3 of a kind.
Oh yeah, you got to love it. When you see 3 of a kind in your hand and you see all these arrows like Yuki has lined up, it's like, I think you call it Magical Christmas Land. You are in Magical Christmas Land here.
I would love that to be there. I want a condo in Magical Christmas Land.
This Chilling Ice Vein does have go again. Yuki still has another arrow in the arsenal ready to fire, and here it is. This is a fantastic one from Everfest with a really, really nice on-hit effect. I believe this one will have the attack of the next attack action card that the opponent plays.
Yeah, and in this case, a lot of the cards have already been donated here in terms of valiantly sacrificing themselves to block some of that damage. But 5 damage is 5 damage, and Yuki's got to be happy about this. But I don't think Yuki's playing this from a perspective of I need to really round down some of the attacks that are coming my way. It's just a matter of I just got to push some damage here.
100%.
And that was taken. Gary's taking this in this case.
Yeah, this fatigue shot is just icing on the cake for the on-hit effect.
All right, and what's fascinating here as well is it's worth noting is that some of these other attacks, keep in mind that they're inherited down the line, right? So it's not
100%.
just one particular attack that says if it hits, do X, like create a Frostbite or whatever. It's all subsequent attacks, and double Chilling Ice Vein is double on hit, so it really can get out of hand.
Yeah, and I would like to note too that Gary has now used both of his heavy block equipments already. He has 2 counters on the Arcanite Skullcap and 2 counters on that Tekla Foundry Heart.
And let's be real, there's a Channel Lake Frigid out, but it was in response to a turn, or it was played during a turn where, Yuki's not necessarily thinking Gary's going to come back, but maybe now's the time. Just open up some of that arsenal space. This is a nice way to protect, just the reach that Gary might have on a counterattack as well. But Yuki has done the work that Yuki needs to do early, which is get a lot of that blocking equipment out of the way. So more so of those 4 attacks, those break points are no longer very, efficiently blocked by the equipment.
Exactly. You basically just want to get the tempo and then maintain the tempo with like this mixture of like aggro and taxing effects, and it can be quite potent. And so here we have a throttle coming in from Gary. Are we going to have some quarter pounder with cheese action here?
Oh, and bacon, because take a look at that. There's double, 2 of them right here. So as you can see, Gary is just showing the Uber Eats right there, the Tekla pounder with cheese and bacon on this one. So the throttle's coming through again. 5, you got to pay 2, but 5's a real nice one. And if it's going to get a couple extra sprinkles on it, why not? So Gary presenting some of that clap back here.
And I think it looks like Yuki's just happy to take it. Yeah.
There it is. Again, Channel Lake Frigid, Gary's going to have to present a counterattack at some point, but Yuki's been relentless. The way that Yuki's presented attacks has been such that, again, odd numbers. They're not necessarily these massive attacks. They're not like the 7s or 8s frequently, but those 4s over time. And there's the first flip. An Amulet of Ice is going to be played as well with Go Again. And Frostbite is the most important part here. Again, just saying, all right, your next attack is going to cost you 1 more.
Yeah. Yep. Now she has Amulet of Ice that she can later crack for more, taxing effects. Here we have. So this turn is actually really relevant what cards she pitches in terms of keeping that Channel Lake Frigid in play. And, if she can do it, I mean, it's pretty nice to keep that Channel Lake Frigid in play, especially against Dash. Here we have another Pathing Helix. This one is going to have Go Again from the Voltaire. So we have, just another, hey, here's some more arrows. This one's pretty nice. The on-hit effect, if it hits, you have no cards in your arsenal, which is true in this case. Then you can put a card from your hand face down into your arsenal, which is something that, it's pretty nice for a Ranger when you are limited to the number of times you can actually activate your bow on a turn.
Right, and this basically allows you to, if Yuki has the resources here, if Yuki has the hand to do so, it's another arrow out there without an activation of Voltaire necessarily, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
Yeah. Don't quote me if I'm wrong, but did Yuki keep a full hand, a full grip last turn?
I believe so, because there wasn't any defense that be presented earlier. So not entirely sure how many cards she's holding on to, but looks like she's just content here to arsenal up, and you're going to lose the Channel Lake Frigid. Like you mentioned, it's important in terms of how you're pitching, et cetera, to put the ice cards there, but sometimes it's just not possible.
Right.
Because you can't purposely pitch for no reason, and you
That's
can't
true.
necessarily overpitch if you can pay for something. So sometimes it's difficult to get that second wheel of Channel Lake Frigid.
Yeah. Here we have the good old Techlo Core winding down, 2 resources floating and coming in with a zipper hit.
That's a red zipper hit as well. The Frostbite should be busted up, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yep. The Frostbite should have been paid for in playing the zipper hit. So this is a red zipper hit. It's going to be coming in for 9. So we have 5 base and then 2 and 2 from the the pounders on the bottom.
Now the equipment that Yuki's is using here is not really.
Yes.
It's not made for blocking, because New Horizon, amazing. You got 2 block on that bad boy, but it's much like the Mask of Momentum, where when you're sacrificing that, it's usually in a situation where you're either secured the win next turn,
yes,
or you need to use it to preserve the game and to maintain, to continue playing, because those are those crucial pieces. It's not like something like Arcanite Skullcap, the Heart or anything like that can block consistently, and that's the main use of it. In this case, those are cards that she's going to have to rely on cards out of hand to absorb 9 damage.
Yep, and Ranger in general, famously not great at blocking, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. Yuki's very like, hey, I'll just take it. Just take it right to the chin. We do have a Spark of Genius coming out from Gary. It's a really, really interesting tutor card that lets him go search for a Mechanologist item card with cost X or less, and it looks like he's going to go grab a 3rd pounder here. So he's setting up for not necessarily wide turns, but for very, very tall turns. And I think this is actually a very good strategy against like the taxing Frostbite deck, where you can just go tall and not really have to worry as much about those Frostbites.
No, definitely. I mean, decks like Yuki's here, Yuki Lee Bender's deck of a lot of ice disruption, a lot of hand taxation, things of this nature are meant to really punish those decks like Ninja, like Chain, that go wide, that need to pay an additional 1 for every kind of attack. But if you could just pay that, but go ultra tall, that is a very, very plausible scenario. But another Art of War here for Yuki Lee Bender.
So it looks like, judging by the die, it's a +1/+1, and then draw 2.
Yeah, refilling that hand. Again, when you're talking about 3 of a kind and just the card draw that affords you, the drawback in that case is that, well, you can't play out of hand, so it's going to be arrows out of the arsenal. You're not going to see some of those combat tricks like rain razors or lightning press or things like that. No, there's no surprises in that case. But however, for Art of War, you're banishing 1, you're picking up 2. Suddenly, you've got more cards in hand, and you still have some surprises.
Yeah, I mean, this +1/+1 is actually very, very good for one of the cards that Yuki has in her arsenal specifically. Oh, here we have a second Art of War. Also looks like giving the +1/+1.
You're vicious.
Absolutely vicious. So the card in her arsenal is a Bolt and Shot, and so Bolt and Shot gets Go Again if it has attack bigger than its base attack, and it will have attack now bigger than its base attack by 2. So it will have Go Again, which is exactly what you need for clearing out an arsenal slot. So you're able to actually use your bow to follow up.
And look at this. I mean, a 2-attack Bolt and Shot is easily blocked. A 3-attack Bolt and Shot, fairly easily blocked. But doubling up on the Art of Wars here to make that Bolt and Shot that really awkward number 4 here with the free Go Again and slamming a double Rain Razors.
Rain Razors.
Man, it has been all about doubles here. We've got 2 Art of Wars on the table, 2 Rain Razors. We're pitching 3 of a kinds to play 3 of a kinds. We're pitching Channeling Fridges to play Channeling Fridges.
This is a lot of instance coming from Yuki. I can see why she didn't block very much in the previous turn. Though we don't know how many of these were drawn off of these Art of Wars. But in any case, Rain Razors is an absolutely brutal card, giving +2 to all of the arrows for the turn.
But like,
so now we have a +6 for every arrow.
This is disgusting. Oh, and another Bolt and Shot. Now here's the beauty of this again. The fact that Yuki still has 2 cards in hand and still has a pocket full of quarters here with some of that resources still floating. So that is a 9-point Bolt and Shot.
Yeah, it's 4 from the 2 Rain Razors, 2 from the 2 Art of Wars, and then +1 from the Voltaire. So it's just a 9 blue Bolt and Shot. That's not something you see every day.
Yuki Lee Bender is showing you why she won the Canadian Nationals with Lexi, showing you why.
Absolute master Ranger player for sure.
Exactly. Why she is the authority on how to play this hero. She is here and proving to you that it's not just about flipping for Go Again or flipping for Frostbites.
Yeah.
She's showing you genuinely how you can be both disruptive and aggressive, and it is a master class on how to play this hero right before your eyes.
Do we have another arrow coming in? This is actually like...
Gary is just shaking his head like, all right, enough.
He's like, what's even going on here?
No more, please.
This is an 11 pathing helix, 11 attack pathing helix.
That would have been
kind of a lot.
That's a little bit of a lethal right there, if it were based on where we're at right now. But and this is like, look how wide this turn went, and look how tall those attacks were. It was an 8, a 9, and an 11. You can give your whole hand, you can give them the farm and all the animals on it, and you're not blocking that much. It's not happening.
I gotta say, I mean, as a Ranger player myself, I was always a little hit and miss on Art of War, but I am a believer now. That Art of War turn was insane. Yeah, quite good. Not only good in chain, quite good in Lexi as well.
And unfortunately for Gary Lynch here, those Teclo Pounders with cheese and bacon are just rotting on the table, unfortunately, by now.
They are absolutely begging to be used. They're like, please, we want to pump something by 6. Just let us do it.
He had that 1 attack for 9. And that was fantastic.
That's pretty good.
Loved it. Love to see it. Yuki's just like, yeah, cool story. I'll take that. Send me the bill, and this is what I have.
Yeah. So Gary's gonna draw up, pass back to Yuki. So she has all of the tempo right now, and that's exactly where you want to be. You can just use your hand to the fullest, and when you can as Ranger, it can be incredibly potent. And so here we have another Chilling Ice Vein. This one is going to be fused.
So nice little for 5 spot, no problem.
5 Go Again with a fusion. If you're sitting across the Ranger, when they give it Go Again, you're like, oh, great. We're definitely going to see more arrows coming.
And take a look at this. Again, this is what I was mentioning earlier. Chilling Ice Vein, whenever an attack deals damage to a hero this turn, it's not just this attack, it's all subsequent attacks as well. So that is going to get inherited by all the other attacks. So Gary here is saying, all right, I got to block this one out because I don't want to lose a card. Next one that comes through, probably the same deal as well. So, and when you're playing Voltaire, first ones usually Go Again, second one's possibly +1, and it's always going to be awkward. But take a look at this. That's the first use of the Amulet of Ice.
Yep, we have the uses of the Amulet. Because she did the fusion, which is what she's noting here, that she's now able to actually use the Amulet. This is a very, very taxing turn, right? Because the Chilling Ice Vein basically forces cards out of hand no matter what. It's like you're going to block or you're going to take damage and have to, get cards out of your hand anyway. And now she's like, hey, I had another card that's just going to rip a card out of your hand no matter what. And that's what you want to do. You just want to rip the cards right out of their hand.
These are the types of games where once people, back home watch this, they're like, I need to see this deck list. Like, I want to, these are the types of games that inspire you to play these types of heroes. And you know what? You saw it earlier. You saw you saw Dash in round 1 have the same kind of effect against Brendan Patrick's Kano.
100%, yeah.
And people were probably saying, I got to try this. I got to try some, like, really aggressive Dash. Get those Teklo Pounders out and go ham. But here's Yuki now flipping that script and saying, yeah, but have you heard of Lexi?
Yeah, and I mean, Yuki's also one of those players who's like die-hard, like Ranger fan, and that's what I love to see that in the Pro Tour. You have the top players playing, at the top of the echelon of that particular class, and I would easily say Yuki's like one of the best Ranger players in the whole world, like 100%.
I got to agree there, and in this case, as you saw, another use of the amulet immediately popped, saying, "Pay for this. It cost you 2." And we're going to jam up some more attacks as well. Gary sitting on 6. Yuki in such a comfortable position at 26 here.
She took his whole hand that turn. Absolutely the whole hand. Left it wide open for an attack. This is like the saddest Teklo Core countdown. It's just like, counting it down.
It's starting to look like, one of the vendors. It's like, here are the cards we have. Like, I just want you to look at them. They're under a glass display. I ain't going to play them necessarily, but here's an attack. This is finally a little bit of a comeback here. Zipper hit with all of the Teklo Cores. The Teklo Pounders are being counted down, so that should be a +6 if I'm not mistaken. So why not? Hey, 10 is a big number.
Gary's very happy to gleefully count all of these down. Like, all right, let's add up all this damage. Let's do some damage to pressure Yuki's hand as much as I possibly can. But Yuki, as you're sitting there, you got to be thinking to yourself, do I care?
No.
Like, do I care about this 10 at all?
Yuki's just like I said, again, send me the bill. I'm all right with this. And not even considering it. Basically, that decision tree at that point is, all right, on hit, is there an on-hit effect? No. Is it lethal? No. I'm not blocking. Like, let's move to my turn because I got to end this up because I'm hungry. We got to move on.
So looks like we have a, this is a Ranger Classic. This is another 0 for 4. This one does have an on-hit effect. I believe this one is this a Searing Shot?
Searing Shot, yep.
The on-hit effect's really interesting. It just forces your opponent to lose 1 life if they take it. It's a weird place in Flesh and Blood where it's not arcane damage, it's not like damage, they just lose 1 life.
Yeah, much akin to like, let's say, Ode to Wrath.
Here we have a Rain Razors played as an instant after blocks have been declared. So this is going to force some damage through, not only from the Searing Shot, but also from its on-hit effect.
So again, at instant speed, the arrows will get an additional 2 attack. That one already coming in. It started as a 4. The block of Throttle soaked up a little bit about that, but there's another Searing Shot again.
The same Searing Shot.
The same Deviled Egg. This one had for 5, but it's not just 5, ladies and gentlemen. It is way more than that.
7,
That's right. Yuki had to put away the D6 because we're going way above. We're in what is that? Those are shapes I have never even seen in my life.
D10?
D10. Snappers getting used, and that looks like all she wrote.
That is game. That is absolute game. As a Ranger fan, you'll love to see it. My heart goes out to Gary, valiantly playing Dash.